Hi, my name is Dahlma Llanos, and this is Alexus Colbert, and we've been working together all year. It's my first year and her first year, and she's going to read a piece called Lakeside, which is the first chapter in what she thinks is going to be a novella, and I think is going to be a novel.
Hi guys, I hope you like my piece. I'm pretty excited right now. But now I have to get into character, so. Okay. You're just like your mother, aren't you? Dumb bitch. Her father staggered into her room, his words stinging. Revealed by his tight-rising shirt, his stomach overlapped his torn khakis. Spaghetti sauce stained his clothes and beard. He was in serious need of a shave and a bath. He bumped into Becky's dresser, knocking down a stack of books and a picture. She looked down at the picture that was taken on a beach when she was about 13. She stood between her parents. That was back when times were simple. In his hand, her father held a half-empty bottle of gin. Without any warning, he threw it at her, so hard that it shattered against her shoulder, just missing her face. She flinched and wailed down agony as the shards tore through her shirt. Dark crimson liquid soaked through the white cloth. In disbelief, she touched her shoulder. Becky stared speechlessly at her bloody fingers. She expected verbal abuse, but this was the first time her father had ever physically hurt her. He turned his back and limped into the living room, clicking on the television as if nothing had happened, as if he had not just brought tears into his daughter's eyes. Becky rushed into the bathroom. She pulled open the medicine cabinet and reached for some alcohol and some gauze. Slamming the medicine cabinet shut, she felt a pain in the back of her throat when she swallowed. Becky squeezed her eyes closed as she dabbed at her wound. What if that bottle hit my face, she thought. Images of her crumpled body laying on the floor one day flashed through her head. She did not want that to be her future. Becky crept into the kitchen. She eased open the cabinet to find an unusually skinny water bug that was scavenging for crumbs that were not there. Becky opened the refrigerator to discover a box of half-eaten crackers and a gallon of curdled milk. She snatched up the crackers, then rinsed and refilled the empty container with fresh water. The news blared loudly as she snuck back into her room and shoved clothes into the biggest bag she could find. She could not take the pain any longer, especially if the insults were escalating into violence. There was no hope. The father she loved and longed for was no longer there. It was on that particular night that Becky Jones decided to run away. She thought about running before, but had never actually done it. She had always feared her father would starve to death or die of loneliness without her there. But now, her safety was more important than his. Becky was determined to survive and live life for someone who never got to, her mother. Becky's nostrils flared. She licked her lips and could taste the tears sliding down her face. She didn't care if a bus ran her father down that very night. Without a second thought, she bent down near her dresser to retrieve her family photo, the picture frame, now cracked, destroyed by her father. Becky gathered one of her shirts and carefully wrapped the picture up inside of the fabric. She then placed it separately in a compartment of her backpack. She packed two of her favorite books, Alice in Wonderland and Tuck Everlasting. Where she was going, she didn't even know. She wanted to be anywhere but there, the place she used to call home. No one would notice her disappearance. Becky's father was not going to report it. As far as she knew, she had no friends, and she didn't have to worry about teachers because it was July, the beginning of summer vacation. This time, he had gone too far. This time, she just couldn't forgive him. Becky stormed out of her house as her drunken father stumbled behind. Her mind drifted back to the days he would run after her in their backyard, trying to find her as they played an innocent game of hide and seek. He always knew exactly where she was hiding. He would sweep her up in his arms when he found her, and they would roll around in the fresh grass giggling. But that was before her mother died. Now her father had a new partner, one that influenced him to hurt Becky. This partner was known to Becky as any cheap bottle of alcohol. "Becky, get back here," he shouted as he stumbled after her. His words faded as his only daughter ran after him. "Well, screw you then. Run and you better not come back here," he slurred and slammed the wooden cottage door shut behind her. That was the 8th time that month her father had come home drunk. The stench of cheap alcohol drenching his clothing, becoming his breath. Insult for Becky would fill his mouth and roll off his tongue. Despite that, she still told him she loved him, even if he did not reply. She hoped she could trigger something in deep within him to make her father come back, because that man before her was not the father she remembered, rather a stranger, unrecognizable. Becky did not walk, but ran towards the forest, stopping once in a clearing to catch her breath. The world around her became a place she was lost in as she left behind a man she no longer knew. She slowed down and began to walk. The town was quiet at night, with the exception of a few crickets and the buzzing streetlights. She passed by a street with a few houses inhabited by families. Along with the streetlights, the warmly lit homes she saw seemed to disappear as she neared the forest and fog seemed to gather among the trees. Only Becky walked the streets. A cat stared at her through a window, and its head slowly turned, eyes digging into her as she walked away. Becky picked up her pace, and eventually there weren't any houses or streetlights to guide her. There was only fog and darkness. She grabbed a flashlight out of her bag, clicking it on to observe the lifeless field around her. Becky jumped at the sound of a cricket close by. Ahead of her, trees towered and the fear seeped into every pore in her body as she tripped over small branches and low bushes. Before entering the forest, she hesitated. Maybe the rumors about this place aren't true, and maybe I am better off here than where I came from, she thought. Becky clutched her backpack close and could feel her photo inside. She took a deep breath and crept into the place she always heard about, the place the other people in her town dared not to enter, Lakeside Forest.